Hello and welcome to another Shared Screens review. Joining me today to talk all things Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I got Jim Tasty himself. What's up, Brett?
What's going on? And we do not have a third person in this podcast. We don't
Nope.
have three people.
It's just Brett and
Boom.
I mean, who could that have been? Well, the third person is Wario, right? That's who
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
third person is. that we're totally hinting at. Yep. So, Brett, you are the lead.
Ah.
You are the lead of Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which you played and beat in one day. I don't
Yep.
know what that means for the quality of the video game, but we will get into that in a second. But before we get into the crux of the review, what's your history with? I'm not saying Mario because we've been through that, but Mario vs. Donkey Kong specifically. Did you play the original? How does that work with you in your past?
Yeah. So I played the original on GBA back in the day. Didn't it come out like right at the end of that life cycle? Like,
I don't know, but I've seen like screenshots and videos of it. And it looks like later in the GBA life cycle. That I can confirm. I just don't know for sure, but it definitely looks like art style and a movement like later on. So
yeah, and I mean, as a kid, just like the cute little mini Mario's and the puzzle
Came
based
out in
gameplay.
2004.
thank you,
2004. Okay.
thank you,
Yeah.
Wario.
um, and so yeah, I played the first one a great bit. I didn't play the ones on the DS. I was like looking at the whole franchise last night
Sure.
on Wikipedia. I didn't really play those, but then the one on 3DS slash Wii U, Tipping Stars, I think
Mhm.
I did play a little bit because there was not a lot to play on the Wii U. So, but yeah, I love these games, and I'll probably bring this up again in the future. But like it's a fun, chill, puzzle game, and so it's super fun, and especially in conjunction with Helldivers, which is intense.
Sure.
It's like counterbalance to that. So when I was playing it last night, I was just like, "This is like so fun," and um, had a really good time with it. So
Yeah.
I'm like a medium level of exposure with Mario versus Donkey Kong, and I know it's like kind of a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong, and so and I
Mhm.
played that obviously a
Sure.
good bit too. So but yeah,
I personally have no experience with this franchise. I knew it existed. That's like literally it. And I remember seeing the little Mario toys in the ball, and
yeah.
that's about all the existence in my brain that I had. I do have a theory about why they chose to bring this game back now, but we can get into that later in the podcast. I think it has more to do with Nintendo as a whole. But
Uh-huh.
so going forward, surface level thoughts. You got a little bit into it, but you said like the juxtaposition between this and Helldivers 2 is like a nice because it is more of a relaxed sort of experience. Now there's a co-op angle to it which we can get into in a little bit, but yeah, talk to me a little bit more about just like your surface level thoughts of the game as a whole and like that relaxed experience.
Yeah, surface level thoughts. I think the game is super fun.
Mm,
I think the game has a good level of challenge. So I got
I
like the
agree.
perfect rating in every level.
Hmm.
And a lot of the levels is one go through, just getting the gifts and then getting the toy and then moving on. Um, and then like I don't even know what they're called. The bonus levels are like the final two where you have to collect, where you have to guide the toys to the
Yeah,
box. You have to
I
beat
I
DK.
ref- I refer to the bonus levels as the live levels that pop up randomly. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah,
the
those are
yeah,
fun too.
I
Yeah,
like those as well.
I never failed them, so I don't know if like
I
it
did.
makes it easy at the
I did.
end.
There was one where like I don't remember exactly what caused it, but I was just like, I'm gonna get the lives first and then chase the key, and that just was not for whatever reason I did that. I just did not do it in the right order or whatever. And as soon as I got all the lives, the key was just at the complete opposite. And then I
Mm,
tried to play it off, and basically I sucked, and I did not. So I did fail one of those. But even if you fail that level, like you still get like three extra
yeah,
lives out of it. So yeah.
yeah, and yeah. So it's a good bit of challenge where like most of the levels were pretty easy to breeze through and get the perfect rating. There was probably a
I
handful of
agree.
levels also where like I really had to like think about it, and then there was definitely a handful of levels where like I was just like bashing my head against a wall where you have to like, especially towards the later parts of
Sure.
the game where you have to like hit a switch and then like have the monorail thing going one way, and then like you kind of have to line up like a couple moves like
Hmm.
pinpoint perfect, and then barely grabbing the key again before it resets and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that was super fun. I think the game looks great. I
Hmm.
thought the art style was great. Love the different variety of worlds, and I think they added like what, one or two, the mini mayhem park one that
I
was
think
cool.
they added 2 worlds. I don't
Yeah.
know about anything beyond that, but 2 worlds, yes, are brand new for this title.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I thought the music though was like sneaky good, like where like the beats were like kind of like, you know, I was vibing with it.
yeah, it's kinda like always Mario music for me because like, I don't remember exactly what it was, and I had to hear it, and then it'd be back in my head, but, like, as my wife and roommate were playing it together with the co-op mode, I was just sitting there doing a little jig and not even the song that was on currently, like, I was just there was another beat that was in my head from a previous level, so, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
like
is catchy.
jazzy. There was like
Mhm.
some synth in there near the
Oh,
end. There's like some eerie, like especially during the winter levels. I was like, dude, this is like setting the tone for each world and giving it an identity.
mhm.
A super small part, but the cutscenes looked really great. Like
Yeah,
it almost looked like the movie a little bit. Like
yeah, especially the begin
definitely.
like, the very beginning was pretty nice too.
Yeah, yeah, it's, like, kind of in the beginning and then in the middle, I think, and then in the end,
Mhm.
so great way to connect the story, so, I think it's a overall pretty good game, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a quality title. I've had this thing going on with Nintendo for a while where like part of me is like Nintendo is unique in the way that they have a high ceiling but they also have a high floor. I do
Yeah,
think this is more close to the high floor. That is not me saying that this game is bad. I just think if I had to say like upper echelon or lower echelon of like their ceilings, I do think it's more like towards like a 7 or 8. But
yeah,
that being said, I just think it's a quality puzzle title that teaches you really well. Like you'd think like because there's no words that you would might get things confused. No, they have these little question blocks that explain everything just the way you need.
mhm.
So and there's a lot of quality of life stuff like the camera scroll. I like a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, yeah, when you're trying to, like because you have the time limit, and so
Mhm.
you don't wanna, like, stress about even though you do stress anyways, like, you're like, okay, you
Me too.
scroll up, you're like, all right, here's where I need to get the gifts. Here's, how I just survive whatever trap they have set up. And
Mhm.
it was very helpful just to at least know where you're going. And yeah, speaking to the challenge again, like never ran out of lives. I had like 60 or something near the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Um, and, and even when I like quote unquote died or failed, before I like died or failed, I just would hit the reset or the
Mhm.
replay and
Mhm.
just start over. And
Mhm.
that didn't like take a life or anything. So it was like
Yeah.
super fair in that way, just because it didn't hinder you like trying to play the game or complete the game.
I like that sentence where it didn't hinder you. Like it's very forgiving. I think is another good word for it. Like the challenge is there, but the challenge isn't there to like literally where you said you were bashing your head. Like there isn't. I wouldn't say there's a lot of that. And like, I can understand the later levels, sure, but
There's
like
like two levels, like
yeah.
I was just like, what the heck do I do?
Yeah, I know, I got you, but that's part of the charm of like they added these more levels in the back end to make it more like worth the purchase and a little more difficult. So that checks out to me. But like most of the puzzles are like you use that zoom out feature. Like most of my struggles were like, where the hell's that other gift?
Yeah.
Like because I get like we get to the levels that have the 3 gifts that you need to collect, and I'll get the first and the third. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
I skipped a present. Then I'll use the scroll, and it's like in the top right hand corner, which I didn't even know was a thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that was
Mhm.
my challenge. I think I had the most issue with some of the like you said, you called them bonus levels. Like the one where the toys follow you, the levels where the toys follow
Oh,
you. Those are the
dude.
ones that gave me the most issue, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, dude,
Um
those toys are so dumb.
because they follow you like a little trail, and you pretty much have to figure out how you are traversing and how you have to make them traverse because you can't traverse the exact same way because they can only like they're smaller so they can fit in places you can't, and sometimes they need a jump pad to areas that you can just jump normally to.
Mhm.
And so yeah, those are just things that those are things I struggle with. And when we come to the other things you preferred as bonus levels, where was the typical classic Donkey Kong levels, I loved those. I thought those were like
Oh,
that was like
so
my favorite
fun.
part of the entire game.
Yeah.
I think it's a credit to any game, and puzzle games aren't like always my thing. I love
Mhm.
like puzzle adventure or puzzle something. Like I don't like a puzzle game by itself. I just like I need something else, and I think this has a good balance of that. But the Donkey Kong levels are the perfect like balance of like, ooh, I didn't get a perfect on that. I know I can, so
Yeah.
let me run that shit back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I like just another encompassing thing on the challenge. I think it's really well crafted in terms of like difficulty.
Mhm.
and especially with like the stuff where we said the camera scroll and stuff like that to like help you with that as well.
Yeah, the
So
DK levels evolved in such a cool way where I don't know. It's not like, but yeah, near the end, like you're like, okay, like we're coming full
we're cooking,
circle here.
we're
Yeah,
cooking.
so super cool. Yeah, and like you said, like getting the perfect rating on the DK
Hmm.
bosses where you can't get hit at all, and you're
Hmm.
trying to like, yeah, just play perfect. Yeah, it's just a great loop, great
Mhm.
gameplay loop.
And there was one where I was distracted and I was messing around talking to my wife, whatever, and I got through the toy one where they're following you with only one toy.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see if that like makes it more interesting. It's not happening. Like I only had one toy, and then you get to the Donkey Kong level, and like it's not even that you have to be perfect. Like you only have one life, and so it's just like because
Yeah.
usually you can at least pass, and like if you want to move on, you can. But with only one
Uh-huh.
life, like good luck,
Yeah.
good luck. Um,
Mm.
so yep, so we can move into more of like the actual review here. But before we do that, I do want to pimp some of our stuff. We have the Madam Web uh, review. Is it? Alec, you told us not to talk to you, but this is something that you can talk to. Madam Web, did you review it fully on the podcast, or was it more of a bashing? Don't watch this.
A bit of
Both.
both. I
Okay.
think in our rant we do kind of review it.
Okay.
We were
That's fair.
coming in hot off. Like I literally got home and I think it was 5-10 minutes later we were recording. So
You wanted that though, right?
I mean, we originally had it scheduled to record the next day,
Uh
but it
huh.
was just one of those Jordan and I had were DMing back and forth. It's like, you want it was just one I sent one of those DMs like, you want us to do this tonight? Just, and
Yeah,
I think
that's
it
that.
made for a better podcast, honestly.
I agree. I was just that that seems like a positive notion, at least for the content that came out of it, rather
Yes.
than the actual film itself.
Yep.
I wasn't on the podcast, but I saw the movie.
Mhm.
Watch the podcast. Do not watch the movie.
Yeah, I
Not
agree
even
with
on
that.
streaming. Don't even watch it on streaming.
That's what I've been telling people.
Don't do it. It's the most aggressively boring movie I've ever seen
I
in my
saw
life.
a screen grab of like the boom mic in the corner of a scene. I'm like, come on,
No way,
come on.
really? I didn't
Yeah,
even notice
I mean,
that.
it could have
Bro,
been fake, but
I was like trying to like keep myself awake in the theater, dude. I was like rubbing my head and stuff like that. I was like,
here, let me ask you both this: if that boom mic thing wasn't fake, like, would it shock you at all?
no,
Not at all.
no.
Like if you
Okay,
saw our
fair
clip,
enough.
they got the year the PSP for the year was wrong. Like they said the
Yeah.
movie was in 2003 and the PSP didn't come out until 2005.
Yep, you talk
Yeah.
about that in the podcast too. I think Jordan brings it up. But yeah, so Madam Web, atrocious, but watch our review slash bashing of that movie so you don't have to actually go yourself. And then later on this week, on Saturday, we have a Helldivers 2 discussion that Alec can talk to if he wants to as well. But he had good things to say about it. Helldivers 2, good.
Fantastic game.
So
Yes.
we'll have more
Well
on
worth
that.
your $40.
And another weird thing we can talk about for this review is the pricing, but we'll have more on Helldivers 2 this Saturday. So, Brett, bringing it full circle right back to Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I do want to start with the bad. Let's get
Mhm.
the bad out of the way. You said you couldn't fault this game. Do you have anything that they could have done better in this game?
Um, I mean, yeah, we can just get into it now with like the pricing.
Okay.
It's 50, right?
Correct. Yes.
50.
$50 bucks.
Um, yeah. So, it's not like egregious in terms of like so a lot of the Switch games are 60, right? And then Zelda was 70.
Hmm.
Um, But speaking of Helldivers, when you compare something like Mario versus Donkey Kong to Helldivers, obviously everyone's value with money is different, depending on the games. Like, there's so many factors to that, but like inherently, I think if you value or if you look at the value of the Helldivers and Mario versus Donkey Kong, I would probably argue that Helldivers has more bang for your buck there.
Hmm.
Um, and
As
so
someone as someone who hasn't played Helldivers 2, I would agree. So,
right, yeah, and I think if this game would have been priced $40, that probably would have helped. Um, you kind of brought up like I can't remember what you said like
mhm,
15 minutes ago, but like it makes sense why this game came out now or something like that.
sure.
The Switch is kind of at the end of its life cycle. We don't know if the Switch 2 is coming out this year or 2025, but like when this game came out right before a direct and then um like I want to say the lack of marketing, but like I don't, it didn't feel like like a huge drop, right? Like
Yeah.
it just, I was like, I was like interested in picking it up,
Mhm,
and then
me
I was
too.
like, oh, it's coming out like this week or next week or whatever. I was like, okay, like dang, I totally forgot about
Didn't even
that.
know, like, there was like, no marketing beat for it, yeah, it was just, like, that announcement trailer, and that was pretty much it, which for a Mario title, I understand it's, like, lower on the rung in terms of Mario titles, but you'd think there'd
Mario,
be mo is
yeah,
like, more than what it got. I agree with you, so
yeah. I mean, Mario, like everyone knows who Mario is,
of
so
course.
there's not like that issue. And the Switch at its life cycle right now, like I think even with the pricing of this game and the lack of marketing, still think this game will sell a couple million, like
Oh, of course, easy. Yeah, and
guaranteed.
do you think maybe that there's a purpose to the not marketing it thing? Because if they go into it being not a typical Mario, it would've sold less. Because people are gonna buy this thinking it's another typical Mario.
I don't know what the sales charts are for like the whole series, but I
Yeah,
imagine they're not like
they're not great.
blow away gangbusters.
Sure.
Like, I mean, with this, like, you look at Mario Party, and each Mario Party would sell like a million or two
Mhm.
on N64, GameCube. I think the Wii one sold a lot just because the Wii sold a lot. And then
Mhm.
to the Switch, the Mario parties on the Switch sold like 20 million or something because the Switch was so hot. And so, um, like we were talking about with the original coming out in '04. I think like all the Mario versus Donkey Kong games come out at like the end of the life cycles. And then like the Wii U one was like no, nobody had a Wii U, so that was like kind of a different story. But like it's never had like a perfect storm of a release for these games, and I just think that's kind of the nature of the franchise. So,
Yeah.
but even then, like yeah, the value I still had a ton of fun with it. I
Mhm.
I got a perfect rating on all the main courses in like 5.5 hours of gameplay.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'll go back and try to do. You get like bonus levels,
Sure.
like,
Mhm.
and then
For
there's
each
like
world, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and then there's like time attack mode. There's other modes also in there. I don't know if I'll go back and do that, but if you want to sink time into this, you can probably get like 10 hours or so out of it. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know, like
And with the whole co-op angle, because like that's a huge thing for me, for my wife and I, is like if we can play co-op, that adds at least another playthrough attempt
yeah,
to a game. So I love when a game has co-op.
yeah. Do you want to speak to that now?
Yeah, so co-op with my wife, it was the typical. I'm on this button over here. I need you to not hit that button. Oh, you just hit that button. I just fell through. Okay, great. Now I have to go redo it's the fun chaos that you would normally get, but fun chaos in a way where, like, even if you play on casual style, I think you get checkpoints.
Okay.
Even if you don't get checkpoints, I don't think it's like a detriment to, like, okay, let me have to do the whole thing again, which isn't that much. It's like 20 seconds to get back to where you were, if that. Um, and I can't speak to later levels because, like you said, you beat it. I have not. I think I got two. I got to the sixth world. I don't think I attempted the sixth world yet. Um, but yeah, the co-op adds another key. So there's when you're playing
Mm,
on like single player, there's like the gold key that you need to open the door.
yeah.
Um, when you playing co-op, there's a silver key that basically unlocks the door itself, and then the gold key unlocks the door. And then when you have to collect a toy, it's a silver key and then the toy, and then it will like sort of like unlock. Or I think that nope, I misspoke. The silver key is just for the toy level where you have all the toys. So
Yeah.
when there's a typical toy level, I think it's just normal. You just have just collect the toy. But when you're doing the bonus level, as you said, where you're like leading the toys somewhere, then there's an extra key. There's a key in there that like unlocks the chest. Um, so it adds a slight dynamic of like another key, but I think that was smart to almost just like add that one layer because it already kind of adds another layer that you have another person you have to worry about doing things in the world.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, there was a lot of cussing and swearing out of love, of course. But but yeah, so it just kind of adds another key, and I think that was a good balance for the co-op.
Would you say like it transforms the game's experience in the gameplay, or is it like Mario Galaxy where like the other person's just shooting the little star bits while Mario's running around?
I would say it's very on brand for how like the Galaxy did it and how a lot of other Mario games do it. But because it's a puzzle game, like just the way the game flows itself, like I said, kind of like you get the added chaos of another player. I think it not that it makes it okay that that's just how it is, but it almost works better in this environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
the normal formula of them adding another player, it's that sort of like formula again, but I just think it works better here than it does in other games in the past.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So still kind of like, well, you can play two player, but and you play as Toad. The other player is Toad. It's not just like some random like in Kirby, I think like Forgotten Land, you were just like a random bad dude, and you're
Yeah,
just
that
there.
was so weird. Yeah, yeah.
And I showed my wife, and I was like, "We don't play this." And then that little dude pops up, and she's like, "What's his name?" And I was like, "I have no idea."
It's just like it's like you'd be a Goomba or something, right?
Pretty
Like,
much, it's yeah, the
yeah.
equivalent of that. But I was like, "I don't know." And she's like, "So I'm a nobody?" I'm like, "Pretty much." So then, out of like spite, I just like hand her the controller. I'm like, "I'll be the nobody."
I love that about co-op games because like I think there's like lore behind it, but like it's like in Halo, like you're Master Chief, you're the Arbiter, and then there's like two other elites that are just like hanging out, and you're like,
Yeah.
cool, like let's go.
Well, and that comes even because like when you do the levels where you lead the toys somewhere,
Yeah.
they only follow Mario. But if
Oh, yeah.
Mario dies, then I believe they follow Toad.
Okay.
Um, but oftentimes you die and come right back, especially if you're playing on casual mode, which with my wife, it kind of had to.
Yeah. How
But
was that? The
well,
casual mode.
playing on casual mode, I liked it, and I played a decent chunk on normal challenge mode and then a decent chunk on normal casual mode. And I played my back half on casual because I was like, I need to get through this game for review. I want to I want to just kind of get through this. Didn't even finish it
Yeah.
anyway. Um, but I get frustrated easily, so I think casual mode was a nice touch to the game. I that being said, what I played on challenge was fine. Like I
Mhm.
literally initially only switched to casual for A, I'm reviewing this game. Let's see what this changes, and B, I want to get through this a little faster. So
Yeah.
it was never like I feel like I need to change to this mode. It was just like for a sense of convenience, which I feel like would be for anyone. If you just want to drop in and drop out and like have a
Oh,
more ease of play, then casual mode is perfect.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, the
yeah,
older you get, like it's like why bang your head against the wall?
yeah,
It's time
and
short. Yeah.
I think you can do it whenever you want. So like if you are struggling on the level,
Oh,
you can just bloop.
flip
I
over.
think you have to pause and like maybe start over the level, maybe
Yeah.
because then it would
Okay.
potentially add that key or whatever I'm talking about, depending on the level. But I do think you can just do it like whenever. Like it doesn't like bork your save or make you start over a world or anything like that. So
Too bad.
yeah. So oh, and so the other change for casual mode because you didn't play any on casual mode at
No,
all.
no, I just jumped in classic and ran
Okay.
through it. Yeah.
So the timer gets turned off,
Yep.
which I like, not because I don't think I need that, but if I see a timer, if I hear a timer, I'm stressing.
Yeah.
Not even because like I think it's gonna like actually be a detriment, but I'm like I don't like hearing it. It makes me anxious. And then instead of lives, you have bubbles. So I never actually lost all my bubbles. So I don't know what happens when that I'm assuming you lose one life like after every five bubbles instead of like a life, if that makes
Got
sense.
you. Yeah.
So I think you lose one life every like five deaths essentially, or how many bubbles you have. But I don't actually know
Mhm.
because I never genuinely lost that many lives. So that's the two changes in between casual and challenge, or the three changes because like you have the key, you have the bubbles, and you have the no timer. So
Mhm.
and we talked about the boss levels, which again are my favorite levels. I was playing this game. I'm like, maybe I should play the original Donkey Kong. Like maybe I should find a way to play that because I'm like I'm really enjoying like this kind of loop.
Yeah,
And
I
these
like
levels and learning the bosses patterns and stuff.
but yeah, a bit of a tangent, but yeah, in Donkey Kong 64, you have to play the OG Donkey Kong. And so like I just remember
Cool.
grinding the original game and trying to like get the perfect score. And then
Mhm.
Donkey Kong 94 on Game Boy, excellent port, and it's almost like a
Wow.
sequel at the same
Sure.
time. So I would love to I just like, yeah, this kind of puzzle platformer game
Mhm.
is like it's very niche, but it's
Mhm.
like there's a spot for it.
There's
There's a
there's a
spot
sense of
for it.
quality to it.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, I might just have to look into the original Donkey Kong and because apparently I like those games. My one and we were gonna talk about the bad, and I started going through, so ignore the bad and good. That was on me. That's my bad. But the ropes I think are my least favorite part of the game, and
Oh,
the
dude,
only
you just
reason
I didn't even
is
write this down in my notes, but you just wow, yeah, go ahead.
the only reason is because for whatever reason when I jump or go to make a maneuver where I am near a rope, my guy will just grab a rope and just mess up everything I just tried to do in that one moment.
Did you play with the stick or the D-pad?
I play with the stick always.
Okay.
Did you
Because
play
I
with the
kinda
D-pad?
I kind of went back and forth, not even
Okay.
like intentionally, but like when I had to climb the ropes,
Mhm.
I used the stick more because
That
for
makes so
some
much more sense
reason
because
with the
yeah, sometimes
D-pad, it
you
was like the controls didn't connect on that for me and how it felt.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was super annoying, like because it's you climb faster going up if you're holding on to two,
Yep.
and then you slide down faster if you're holding onto one.
Yep.
And for some reason, I with the stick and with the D-pad, like I would like be like climbing both, and then I would just like switch over to one. Like
Mhm.
my controller's not broken. I was like checking, and I just would switch over to one, and then like I'd be trying to slide down. I'd be like holding on to two, and I'd be like doing that. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, no, I gotta slide down, like
Mhm.
go.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Nope,
and
I
then
agree.
like I took a video of it, and like when you get to a point where like there's like the monkeys with the tails that you have to
Yep.
hold on to,
Yep.
and those are moving, and so you have to hold on to like one rope and then
Mhm.
like reach out and
Mhm.
then grab it, and like I like took a video of it and I looked at it, like my hand is like on the tail and it like just didn't grab. I don't know if I had to hit
Yep.
jump or something, and I'm like, what the heck was that about? It
I
only
had
happened like once or twice, but I was like, oh, and then jumping on top of enemies, like
mm,
like the enemies like here, and I would like come like here, and it would like kill me, and I'm like, come on,
yeah,
like give me
there'd be
like the
some, like,
game's not hard, like why are you not giving me the benefit of the doubt
uh
here?
there would be some hitbox stuff where, like, in any other world, that dude's dead, but for
Or
whatever
platforming,
reason
trying to jump up onto a platform, and like I like the feet don't go completely above it,
Uh-huh.
and so I would fall through, and I'm like,
Uh-huh. It
sorry.
yeah. No, I'm with you. No, no, I'm with you. One of my notes is because you explained, like you grab the monkey's tail and, like, you're clearly you're right there, but it just doesn't register. I had a lot of, like, stuff with the ladders where I'm jumping to use a ladder
Oh
and he's
yeah,
just not
yeah, yeah,
grabbing,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
And then I had other instances. This is just me. I think this is just a me thing, but when you're on the toy levels, we had to lead them. Sometimes I would
Mhm.
be by a button and my toys are all by me, and I'm like, "Get the fuck! I'm trying to hit this button. Get the hell out of my way!" And they're
And you
just like,
can't pick them up.
"Nope,
Yeah,
nope."
you
They're just
gotta
like
like
right there.
run around, yeah, to
Because
reorient them,
they have mass to the extent that you can, like, walk on them and jump on them. So if there's a button
which you
right
never have
there,
to do.
nope.
I mean, you
But
can kind of like use them to get up, but like you don't have to. I never
I
had to
wonder
do
if you
that.
can use it, like, with an item. Like, I wonder if I could, like, threw the key on them and then, like, or
Yeah, like
something.
the trash cans or something. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
wonder
know.
if that would've worked, but yeah, I had some instances where, like, your rope, monkey tail thing was more with the ladders for me, where that wasn't
Yeah,
working for
yeah.
me, so and I do want to pivot back real quick to the Donkey Kong boss levels because one of my notes is like I love this is probably my favorite part of the game and I do like learning the patterns, but some of it felt a little bull at times where it's like it was just random stuff, especially the rope one. And maybe that's just because I struggled with the ropes, but some of
Uh-huh.
them felt just like random. Where like again, it's learning patterns and stuff and like when he throws stuff up and whatever and where he's gonna be on the bottom. But there are times where like I don't think he knew what he was doing. There was one part with me where he was just like hovering and doing this little jukey stuff, and he was just stuck there. And then I'd throw something at him, and then he would move, and he would just stay there and hover in that one spot for a while. And I'm like, come on, man. And so then he would throw up two of those little what are they called? I don't know what they're called, but they little chompers that go up the ropes.
Oh,
Uh, little
that
green
boss
guys.
fight. Yeah, it got tough for a minute for me.
Yeah,
I agree. Like
the ropes. There's something about the ropes.
there's a conveyor belt level boss, and
Okay,
he throws bombs, and that's like where like you have to jump precisely on top, because
sure.
if you jump, you know, 75%, you'll die.
Mhm.
And yeah, like he would throw it in specific spots, and then like sometimes he would not, and I like was having trouble finding that pattern. Um but yeah, it's like super weird. I don't know
Well,
how to explain it, because there's another boss fight too where like you have to like hit switches to move the conveyor belts, and like I just like got like 3 hits in a row on him because he just like wasn't hitting his switch to like
yeah.
send him back my way, and I was like, all right.
All right,
Cool.
man. I'll take the easy dub.
Yeah.
There was a maneuver, I'll call it, that my roommate on the Donkey Kong boss level for like the haunted or spooky
Yeah.
world, whatever it was called. If you time it right, you can jump on one of the enemies, throw it at him, and then as you're falling, he hits the button for another one. Then you land on it, jump on it, throw it at him. You can get 2 lives, and she did this repeatedly, right? So like it wasn't like a one time deal.
Yeah.
but so she could get him down to half health like immediately. And it was just like,
Pro strats right there.
I think I was gonna say, I think
Speed
you found a
running.
strat. I
Yeah.
think you found a strat. Yeah. So those do exist at least.
Oh, and this is another tangent, but so I got the
Go
game
on.
physically. Great box art, by the way. Looks super beautiful. Um, but dude, like, just man, like, it's hard to find games physically nowadays. Like Best
Yeah,
Buy.
that was a message between you and me. I was like, man, if you need me to look for you, I'll try. Like,
I went to Target and they had some, but like, it's just yeah, it's kind of weird that like you can't. It's hard to find stuff now.
that's a whole nother topic that I believe we covered on a media club.
Yep.
Maybe I made
Mhm.
that up. Um, so one of my major notes that I was going to get into a little bit ago, but I didn't, is like I can't tell if because this is clearly a different Mario game, but the platforming in this game, does it feel like a Mario game to you? Because to me, it didn't.
Um,
Specifically, the platforming part of it.
it doesn't feel like a normal Mario game in terms of like you can't run.
Sure,
And so, but it does have its own like set of rules and physics. So like
that I agree.
there was like a couple moments where like um you're I guess jogging and then you have to do like the handstand jump or the
Hmm.
kind of backflip jump and like
Hmm.
in like I don't even know if you need to do it, but I did those in like kind of like a cohesive like order, and I
Sure,
felt like I did this like really cool like
sure.
sequence of events to
I'm
do
with.
it in
I'm
an
with you.
optimal way. So uh it felt good. Like it didn't feel bad.
Mhm.
Even though we were talking about like the ropes and stuff, but the
Yeah.
actual platforming largely felt pretty good.
Yeah, I
Um,
just for me it felt completely like
it felt
foreign to a normal Mario platformer. But I think that's kind of like the point. I don't know. But
yeah, it felt similar to, and I mean it's a spiritual successor to Donkey Kong, but it felt like Donkey Kong where you're jogging and you're jumping as Mario, but you're not sprinting and you
mhm,
can't slide. Like
mhm,
it's not like Super Mario, but it
sure.
is like like Donkey Kong. So
It's just boring old normal Mario
I know
without
before
the
you super.
power-ups.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. You brought up a good point where it does have a sense of like rules and cohesion, where like the whole handstand thing is also useful when there's like projectiles above
Oh,
you,
doing
or
the
like
double
you
jump where like you have to
well
get like
you can
I
also block projectiles with your feet. Like if you have your
which is
feet up.
maybe for some reason it made me think when they were doing promo for the Mario movie and they
Oh
had
sure.
like they were like, "Go to the only Nintendo store in America in New York City. Go to that store to see his boots." Remember that?
Yeah. No, I do. I do recall that. That's
And
really
it's
weird.
like and obviously the movie CGI, so it's not like there's like props or sets. It's like they made like you know that like I don't even know what it is because I'm like I have cousins who are younger, but like that big red boot meme
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
It was like that. It's like this giant like Mario boot. And I'm like
Yeah.
I was like, I guess like
Alright.
that makes sense that like he blocks the bricks or the wrenches with like his feet.
Sure. You know what's iconic about Mario? His shoes. That's
Seriously.
what will do it. But yeah. Okay. So the one thing I want to get to, like I mentioned at the top of the show, where I have a theory about why this game was like brought back now, and it's not much of a theory, but I do want to lay it out here. I think they're just really pushing Donkey Kong and Mario together for a reason. And I think the reason is the next 3D platformer we get is going to be like a duo game, where
Mm.
they're both in it, because there was that what was it, leak of some sort where they're working on like a new Donkey Kong game, like the Mario Odyssey team. Like there was
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A few
a
years ago.
rumor
Yeah,
about that being a thing, and I think there's more to that. I think there's
yeah,
something about the timing of the Mario movie and how like Donkey Kong was a heavily featured in that. I think there's timing for they're like, hey, what's a franchise we can bring back? And I know you said like it's always near the end of the life cycle of those consoles, but not
I feel
always.
like yeah,
But
yeah,
but I think like, hey, it's perfect. It's perfect for that. And hey, this next game we're having coming out is gonna have both of them. I think we're gonna whatever. What I'm getting at is I think the next game, whether if it's not what I just said, I think Donkey Kong is featured in it in a prominent role of some sort. And
yeah.
I think that's why.
Just like in general too. I don't know. There's probably a better way to put it, but Nintendo's making the Mario brand very like safe, and I don't want to say bland, but like they're distilling it back to the core like tenets of what makes Mario Mario, and so obviously the iconic, the original like villain for Mario is Donkey Kong, right? So
Sure.
it's bringing it back to basics, and obviously with the movie, Donkey Kong played a big role as
Yep.
like a initial villain, and then you know
Turn best
compatriot.
pal.
Yeah.
Besides Luigi,
Um,
of course. Come
um,
on.
yeah. So and then yeah, like the last one came out 9 years ago, so it's always feel like that's kind of like a every 10 years or
Every decade.
generation bring in a niche franchise like this back just
Sure.
to keep it in
Yeah,
people's minds.
I think the stars aligned for more reasons than that is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So yeah. So before, because we just kind of went rambling on about for this review, give us your like one sentence or paragraph summary of this game as a whole, and then give us your score, if you will, Brett.
Yeah, it's a fun game with a nice challenge. I always say this with this kind of game: if it's a niche sub franchise
Mhm.
and you love it, you gotta show support because you get one of these every 10 years.
Think
The
so.
value isn't quite there, but I still had a ton of fun with it.
Sure. Yeah. And you said if it would be 40, you'd be more inclined to like really be pushing for it.
Yeah, and I know like these games, sometimes Nintendo games go on sale, but like very rarely they do.
Yep.
And so if they go on sale, I would definitely recommend that.
Yep.
But I think at $40 for the Nintendo audience, it would be like, dude, check this out because
A
it's
no
fun.
brainer. Yeah.
It's a good 10 hours if you really sink into it. So, but yeah, like $50 is right in that like
It's
iffy,
pushing it.
iffy territory,
Yeah.
especially with like
I
Helldivers and Final Fantasy coming out for
sure.
20 more dollars and stuff like that. So,
I agree. I'm with you on the price point. I think I'm even a little more harsh on it. I think 30 is probably the right. But then you
oh,
think about
but
like,
that's like 40 is like I'm thinking like Nintendo business sense of
sure,
like
sure, sure,
because
sure.
they've done that too, like couple times, like $40. And so, but yeah, like 30, like I don't Nintendo would never do that.
You're right. You're right. I just think
But
talking
yes,
about
you're
like the
right.
quality of the game and what is actually there, the time commitment,
Yeah.
with it being a remake, to an extent, there is new content. Don't get me wrong, but I just think realistically, $30 makes sense. Which, like you said, means $40 to $50 for Nintendo standards. Which again doesn't make it right, but like here we are.
Black
And
Friday coming up in, 9 months or whatever.
mhm,
That's the time. It'll be
mhm.
30.
And I think we both agree it's not like the upper echelon of Mario games, but it's still a good, genuine quality video game.
I had such a fun time. I hadn't played one of these in so long. Great time right now to
Mhm.
as like a offset for Helldivers.
Palette
So
cleanser, kind of.
yeah, it was like so chill. Yeah, it was
Okay.
good. It was good.
So what would you give it on the shared screen scale, or 20-point scale?
um, yeah, I know we have the 20-point scale, but it's feeling like a solid eight,
A
8 out of
solid
10,
8.
8 out
Okay.
of 10. And I'm higher than you, so like I think like if I had to be super objective, I would give it a 7. Um, but like just all the factors I was listing before, like it really kind of connected with me, and so and then outside factors like you don't get a lot of these, so I'm like I think it's fun. It's a fun time, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like you said that you're higher than me. I think that while that's true, I think an 8 still seems right, especially for the discussion we had and how we hashed out the good and the bad. The bad, there isn't a bad thing about this game. Let's be real. It's just
Yeah,
there are certain things like the ropes I didn't like, the hitches and like the platforming and stuff wasn't as sound as I normally would. But
it.
maybe it's just getting used to the new rules because we're used to other Mario titles. But yeah, I
Mhm,
think an 8 makes sense. I don't think you're off base on that. So.
100%.
I like that 8 out of 10. So we are giving Mario vs. Donkey Kong, I almost said Mario and Luigi, Mario vs. Donkey Kong a 8 out of 10 on the shared screen scale. Thank you for watching. This has been our review. Check out our other stuff. Goodbye.